So sweep the sheds
Yep.
is probably one of the most quoted ideas in legacy.
Yeah.
I guess my question for you is around why is humility so vital to performance? What advice could you give, or what's one small way that a leader could put that into action in their day-to-day leadership?
Okay. So entitlement is the enemy of high performance.
Mm,
Unearned glory, that we deserve it, that we're entitled to it. And I think so. So an active practice of humility, sweep the sheds, do the small things that need to get done, leaves our ego at the door and puts us in a better position to connect with other human beings
yeah,
and also make better decisions that aren't based on ego. They're based on contribution, on service, on making a difference. So in terms of the simple things that people can do, is the standard we set is the standard we get.
like that.
If we walk past a problem and think it's beneath us, that problem will persist. If we look for small, incremental, meaningful ways to make a difference, even if it's putting out the bins
Yeah,
or cleaning the cups in the canteen and not leaving it to somebody else. I think those small devotional practices of humility say a lot about us as a character and set the standards that we expect from others.
yeah. The mirroring what you see. I like that. So never be too big or to do the small things that need to be done.
Exactly.
The All Blacks are famous for protecting and evolving their culture, right? Um, what's one thing that leaders could do to shape a more intentional? We always talk about this high performance. It's such a banded about
Mhm.
phrasing, isn't it? A high performing team culture. What's one thing they can do to really intentionally shape that?
Well, I think it's good to go back to what a culture is.
Hmm.
Originally was Cicero, way back in Roman times, defined it for the first time, and it was the cultura anima, the ground in which we grow.
Like
And I
that.
think if you see culture as a place to create growth,
Mm,
development, a learning environment, a place that people move towards, in humanistic psychology, mastery or self-actualization. Therefore, as a leader, how are you creating the conditions for other people to grow and to flourish? I think is a really good place to start as a question around culture. And then design the standards, the expectations, the behavior, the language, the rewards, the recognition, the environment accordingly,
mm,
and get
mm,
the right people in to continue that culture and sometimes the wrong people out.
mm.
If you've got the wrong people in a culture and they're inhibiting flourishing and growth, then that's a pretty good metric, I think, for whether you've got a healthy culture or one that's unhealthy.
I like that. Reminds me of the fertilizing. So it's being strategic and intentional and
Yeah.
building it from that. So leave the jersey in a better place. That speaks to that purpose and legacy. And what would be your advice, or what do you see working well where leaders can really help their teams connect to something bigger than their role, their targets, their everyday to day?
Yeah. You know, what we really want, I think, is there's a phrase, a meaningful role in something meaningful.
Mm,
The worst feeling in the world is to be doing work that doesn't matter, to watch
mm,
our life go by doing work that doesn't matter. And so I think harnessing the power, if you like, of purpose
yep.
is really about being a meaning maker for human beings, creating the conditions. And, you know, the more you've got to play for, the better you play. If you're just playing for a weekly wage, you'll play if you really need that weekly wage. But if you're playing to inspire and uplift a nation, or change the world, or save lives, or delight people, or become the All Blacks say to become the most dominant team in human history,
Mhm,
right? Those are big things, and
mm.
and they align the organization and they
Yeah.
create what's called cognitive congruence. Everybody knows where they're going and they're deeply passionate about getting there. And that galvanizes groups. That really galvanizes groups. And if you get that right, you'll attract and retain talent. You'll align your kind of vectors and you'll create a kind of a crackle and a passion for what you're doing.
And that's where discretionary effort comes in, where people just go above and beyond, don't they? Where they feel
Yeah.
that they are just
Intrinsic motivation.
yeah.
It's if you want kind of rebels with a cause.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if you've got a cause and you're working towards something that matters, then it matters to people.
Yeah.
And you know, there's that phrase, you know, people live lives of quiet desperation.
Mm,
If you know, if you as a leader can be the vision setter, you know, leadership a lot is around connecting around vision. The
yeah,
Martin Luther Kings or the
yeah.
JFKs or the whoever is creating a compelling idea of what the future might look like, lighting people up with it. I think it's very powerful.
So
It's really about connecting and communicating, I think. And
mm,
I like to think of it as the sort of I call it the R's. They're all lined up. Recruit. You know, are you getting the right people who are engaged in that and have the right DNA and character, if you like, in order to do that? The way you review, are you talking about financial returns or are you reviewing in terms of how have you contributed to a bigger purpose?
mm.
Rituals and language remind, reflect, and reinforce. What story are you telling every day? When you walk in the door, what reminds you that that's what it's about? When the CEO stands up at a conference, is that what he's talking about? Or is he talking about quarterly returns again?
Mm,
And then what do you reward and what do you recognize?
yeah.
Do you recognize people who have played for that purpose? Do you reward the goal scorer or the assist? You know, because often the assist is making it better, you know, is handing it over to the right person. So I think if you get those in alignment, then it becomes the norm, if you like, the code, the standards, the
Yeah.
ethos of the organization. And the more you do it, the more you repeat it, the more deeply it becomes real. The more it just sort of becomes the water that you swim in. This is the way we do things around here in a positive sense.
Yeah, that consistency. I love the R's.
Yeah, it kind of
Remind,
helps, I think.
reflect. Remind,
Yeah,
reflect.
yeah, gotta get a bit of alliteration in it.
Yeah,
It
well, yeah, it
helps people
sticks.
remember.
But it's threading that through every intention, every behavior,
Yeah.
every action, every process, isn't it? I guess the consistency.
Yeah, you know, you know, there are companies like Mars
Mm,
who really they're very purposeful, but their values are very purposeful. They talk about mutuality and that it's got to be a win-win
mm,
for people.
mm. Yeah,
And what that does is it becomes about long-term relationships.
yeah.
You know, you think about Unilever, they have a purpose for every brand.
Mm,
You know, some brands for every unit sold, they're building wells in countries that need fresh water, for
mm,
instance. You know, business is business, but also business is abstract often,
mm,
and it's just numbers. And sometimes I talk about the cocktail party test. Are you proud of what you do?
mm,
And it
mm.
makes a difference. If you turn up and someone says, "Well, what do you do?" and I flog shampoo, that's a very, very different conversation. Well, what we're committed to as an organization is cleaning up the world's fresh water,
I
and we
like that.
happen to
It
sell
makes a
shampoo.
difference.
It's a difference. There's pride, there's clarity, and a sense of kind of, you know, what we really want to do is do good work with good people for a good reason.
Yeah,
And if you can align around that, there's a phrase from sport: the score will take care of itself.
the
Get your
numbers,
result
results. Yeah,
because you're kind of doing the right thing.
yeah. The rest follows. Brilliant book,
Thank you.
James. Highly, highly recommended. I've very much enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.